I'm Emily, I'm an educator at MOHAI, and this is Collection Connections, Objects and Questions, where we take a quick peek into Seattle history by taking a really close look at one item in our teaching collection to see what it can tell us about the past. Today, we're going to be looking at early American settlers, and this is our object. But first, let's have a think. What do you think about when you think about early American settlers in the Pacific Northwest? When I think about this, I think about people traveling along the Oregon Trail. I think about people coming here during the 1840s and 50s and 60s. Hundreds of thousands of people traveled this way to get here. And they were coming because the United States had told its citizens that they could claim free land in what they were calling Oregon Territory. And when I think about traveling on the Oregon Trail, I think about really long dirt paths with lots of sun and rain and snow, and going across plains and rivers and mountains. And I think about packing all of your stuff in a big covered wagon. And I think about the animals that are pulling those wagons, like oxen and horses. And when I think about life for these people, once they arrived in Oregon Territory, I think about having to kind of build your life from scratch and make your own house and figure out how to make your own tools. And there weren't any stores around, so you would have had to learn about the land and its resources from Native people. And yeah, that's pretty much what I think about when I think about early American settlers. Let's take a look at our object. This is the object we'll be exploring today. The first step is to use our senses to make as many observations as we can about this object. So the first thing that I noticed right away is that this looks like a quilt, and what makes it look like a quilt to me is that it's got one side that has a lot of different patterns and pieces of fabric put together, and then on the other side it's just kind of got one big piece of fabric on the back. And it's also got some padding. You can see that there's lots of little raised bumps, and that's some nice soft padding in there, so that's why I think this is a quilt. And on this side we've got kind of a square with other squares and triangles within the squares, and we've got some stripes and some polka dots and some kind of flower things. It's a lot of light pastel colors. We've got some light yellows and pinks and blues and some white, but it's pretty dirty. We've got some stains over here. The edges are a little frayed. And then if we look at the other side, you can kind of see a little bit better that the stitching also makes some patterns. And then we've got this image here that looks printed, like it's part of the original fabric. And up here it says 48 pounds net bleached, and something chemical that I do not understand or know how to pronounce. And the image here kind of looks like a child. And yeah, I think those are some really great observations to make about this object. Oop, I do see a little bit red here that I didn't notice before. It's really soft too. Now that we've made our first observations, it's time to start putting things together. So because of how soft and worn it is, I'm going to say that this quilt has been very loved and that it's kind of old. And looking at the back, I'm thinking that the fabric came from something else entirely different. I'm not sure what it is though. Bleach, I don't know what could have been bleached. When I think of bleaching things, I think about toilets and showers and bleaching hair. And I don't think that a fabric with a child on it really would be used for any of those things. So I'm not entirely sure what this would have come from. Flower? Flower. Oh my goodness. This is a flour sack backing. So this fabric on the back side would have come from a flour sack, which is how flour used to be packaged. It used to come in these really big fabric bags, 48 pounds of it, according to the letters on this. That's really interesting. And I think it makes a lot of sense when you think about early pioneers and settlers who would have had access to limited supplies both along the trail and also when they got here. So that's really cool. I think something that this tells us about early American settlement and kind of that experience of traveling along the trail and coming here and making a new life is that you would have had to have been really creative with your supplies, and this shows a lot of kind of cool reuse of material. And then I think also it shows us that people had some skills for figuring out how to make things that they would have needed for their home. And I think also that this probably would have been, I would imagine this would make some pretty good entertainment and occupy your time either on the trail or when you got here if you didn't have a lot of things to bring with you for entertainment and kind of making a good time upon arrival. I'm really curious still about who would have owned this quilt or who made this quilt. What questions do you have, either about quilting or early American settlement or traveling along the Oregon Trail? To find out the answers to some of your history questions, you can explore the MOHAI website. That's mohai.org, mohai.org. And you can email us at education@mohai.org if you have topics that you would like to see on a future Collection Connections Objects and Questions video. And thanks for watching.